What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. It's time for Upset Alert Week 11. So we'll go back to Week 10, and of course there were two really big upsets. LSU, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson. Both of those games were on the video last week. I actually told you guys I was predicting LSU to beat Alabama. And the Notre Dame game, just as it got closer and closer, I started having more and more of a feeling that one might be an upset as well. Other than that, though, really not a ton of upsets last weekend. There were a lot of great games, though. We look ahead to Week 11, and the problem with this is, again, if you're not new to this, we pick 8 games that we think are most likely to be upsets where the spread is 4 points or more. And the problem this week is there are a ton of games where the spread's like 1.5, 2, 3, 3.5. Like, there are not many options to choose from. So it is what it is, but I think we probably will still see 1 or 2 of these games be upsets because it seems like that happens pretty much every week. We're going to go now from the least likely to the most likely, in my opinion, starting with the least likely. But again, this team should be on upset alert, and that's Oregon. And ignore these rankings. I use Yahoo for the graphics for these videos. I just like their layout, and they haven't updated the rankings yet, so just ignore the rankings here. But Oregon, Washington, it's a rivalry game. Oregon playing at home makes me think that they should be able to win this game, and they've been playing really good football as of late. But Washington, you know, besides that one kind of bad loss in there, they play good football as well. I think this could be a pretty good game, and this is a big rivalry. I think a lot of people don't realize. I've heard Oregon fans say this is a bigger rivalry than Oregon State, and Washington fans say this is a bigger rivalry than Washington State. These teams do not like each other, and you never know what you're going to get in a rivalry game. I think this will be a good game, though, either way. Oregon's been rolling, but they haven't really played the toughest competition, and I think now that they play a good team again, we see them probably play in a closer game. And you never know. Things don't go well. Bo Nix throws a couple of interceptions. We get the old bad Bo back, then Washington could pull off the upset. So definitely keep an eye on this one. Oregon, I think at least should be on upset alert. Cal and Oregon State, we're going to stay in the Pac-12. This game is at 9 o'clock Eastern time on the Pac-12 network. Oregon State favored by 13.5, coming off of a tough loss last week. Cal's a team that's better than the record, the 3-6 record. Remember, they played Notre Dame close. They had a decent chance to beat USC last week. This is a team that, again, is better than their record. Oregon State, I think they'll bounce back, but who knows? Maybe that loss gets to them, and now they think they're out of contention in the Pac-12. You know, it's always tricky to see how teams are going to be mentally after a win or after a loss. So I think this is one, just keep an eye on this one as well. Cal desperate for a win. You never know. And again, the problem with this actually being an upset probably is the fact that it's at Oregon State. If it was at Cal, if the first one was at Washington, then maybe they would be a little bit more likely. But let's move on now. Florida State and Syracuse, 8 o'clock Eastern time on the ACC network. Florida State's favored by 6.5 in this game. And again, these rankings are not updated. Florida State now is in the top 25 in the playoff rankings. But yeah, you look at this matchup, Florida State's playing with a lot of momentum, just blew out Miami. They've been, I mean, you look at their losses, they could easily be sitting there with just one loss right now, or at least at 7-2. You look back to that NC State game, they probably should have won that game. I guess Wake Forest and Clemson weren't down to the wire, but still, they should be probably 7-2. They have a win over LSU. This is a really good team. But they're going on the road, playing in the Dome. Syracuse coming off of a few losses here. Maybe Florida State kind of overlooks this Syracuse team a little bit. We've seen Syracuse at times this year look like a really good team. And if they can put it back together, and if they can play the way that they were playing earlier in the year, you never know. We might could see an upset here. If Florida State plays the way they've played the last couple of weeks, though, I think they will roll in this one. So that's one where Syracuse probably pulls off an upset, or Florida State wins big. So if you're looking at that spread, that's a tough pick, because I think Florida State wins and covers easily, or Syracuse maybe pulls off the upset. That will be my prediction in that game. All right, Alabama, Ole Miss, 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. This is an interesting matchup here. Alabama 12-point favorites, and someone asked me about this game the other day. The way I see this one playing out, it's really all about Alabama. I don't think it really matters. I mean, if Ole Miss plays the greatest game they've ever played, okay, that's one thing. But I think we know pretty much what we're going to get from Ole Miss. They're going to be explosive on offense, probably give up some plays on defense. I mean, we just know what we're going to get. I think it's all going to be up to Alabama, and how do they play in this game? That will be the question, and how do they bounce back from the loss? Are they angry? Are they motivated? Do they work really hard all week in practice? Or did they pout a little bit? Think maybe the season's over, we're not going to make the playoff, we've got 2 losses. And I could really see it going either way. You know, we've heard some things about players maybe not believing in the game plan, not trusting these coaches for Alabama. Do they just kind of give up? You know, I don't think Nick Saban, it's hard to imagine him allowing this team to give up, but it's been a weird year for Alabama, so who knows? But if they come out motivated, I think they win this game easily. I think they'll cover the 12 points. If they don't, if they're not prepared, this is an Ole Miss team that can score points quickly, and I think Ole Miss will win this game, and I think Ole Miss might even win it by a couple of scores. So I think either way, this one probably does not wind up close. If Alabama plays their best, they win big. If they don't show up, Ole Miss maybe wins big. So definitely at least an upset alert game right here. How about South Carolina and Florida? This one's at 4 o'clock Eastern time on the SEC Network. Florida favored by 8 points playing at home. These are 2 teams that have been really inconsistent this year. Both teams have been up and down, so because of that, it's hard to predict what's going to happen in this one. I mean, I really don't know. I guess I would take Florida because they're at home. I think they have a little bit more talented team. But again, South Carolina at times has looked really good this year, and again, at times they've looked pretty bad. So I don't know what to expect in this game, but I'm going to put Florida on upset alert because I think it probably winds up being a close game either way. How about Oklahoma, West Virginia? This one's at noon Eastern time on FS1. Oklahoma favored by 8. That's a pretty big number on the road at West Virginia. We've already seen West Virginia pull off an upset earlier in the year. So, I think this is a tough one to call. Oklahoma, another team that's been inconsistent, up and down. When they've been good, they've been pretty good. When they've been bad, they've been pretty bad. West Virginia, kind of the same story. And there's been a lot of teams that have been inconsistent this year. So I think this one will be close. I think it'll be a good game. West Virginia playing at home. So just because of that, I think definitely you got to put Oklahoma on upset alert. And how about Louisville and Clemson? This one's at 3:30 Eastern time. Clemson favored by a touchdown. Favored by 7 points in this game. If they play the way they played against Notre Dame, they will lose this game. They have to play better. And you got a long winning streak at home here on the line for Clemson. Louisville's a team that's just been getting better and better and better. I think they're capable of winning this game. I really do. I think it will be very close. And it'll probably come down to the quarterback for Clemson. Can they make some plays late to win the game? If they can't, Louisville wins this game. They've got Cunningham at quarterback. He's a tough guy to play against. Big-time runner. This will be, I think, a very close game. Clemson, could they lose 2 in a row? Well, I definitely think they should be on upset alert this week. And finally, TCU, Texas. This one's at 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Game day going to be there. Texas favored by 7. Yes, Texas favored by 7. A 6-3 Texas team favored by 7 against an undefeated TCU team who is now up to number 4 in the rankings. I get it. You know, Texas has played really well at home. Quinn Ewers has been much better at home. They've looked like a top 10 team at times, especially at home. And TCU, they continue to not put teams away. They continue to start slow in some of these games. So, you know, I understand why Texas is favored, even though TCU is that undefeated team. But I think TCU is capable of winning this game. If they go in here motivated, they see that they're the underdogs, they're not getting any respect. You know, they've got a lot on the line, though. There's pressure for TCU. So this is a tough one. This is a tough one to predict. I think it really could go either way. But definitely, I don't think Texas is for sure going to win it. So, yeah, put them on upset alert. If the good Texas shows up, the team that we've seen that played against Alabama and played against Oklahoma, if that team shows up, I think Texas wins this game. If they don't, I think TCU wins this game. So this will be a good one, I think. And unless TCU just shows up and plays the best game they've played all year, then it may not even matter how Texas plays. So definitely put the Longhorns on upset alert, and I think that's probably the most likely upset that we see this weekend. Give me your thoughts on these games. Maybe there's an upset that you could see happening that I didn't list. Remember, the spread has to be 4 points or more. So give me your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.